Welcome to the Honest Hour. I'm your host, Luis Acevedo, and we got quite a bit to talk about today. So there's a lot happening in the news, as there typically is these days. And I guess I just wanted to jump right into this whole Liz Cheney thing. I know that that's kind of circulating around the, horn right now. We have pretty much every news organization talking about how Liz Cheney has lost her seat, has lost the primary due to somebody else. And I guess she's like what is it? The 10th, yeah, the 10th person in the Republican Party who who voted to impeach Trump that has now lost re-election. And this is very telling because the last election cycle, she actually won by like 73%, but now she lost it. And this is after she voted to impeach Trump. And so she's also talking about creating a pact and going after Donald Trump and making sure he'll never take the Oval Office again. Well, what we're seeing here is a birth of somewhat of a new Republican Party, but not that different from the old one, aside from the fact that we are now changing up the rhetoric a little bit. The Republicans aren't as afraid to talk about things that were taboo before, but that's because the mass consciousness has sort of accepted a lot of these talking points, whether it be migration, the pride thing, or something along those lines, nationalism. Cheney is a traitor like her father. I agree with you, Dusty Road, but I also think Donald Trump's a traitor. I'm not a big fan of really anybody in the Republican Party. But we are seeing a huge shift into Trumpism. Yeah, that's not okay. Yeah, we're seeing a huge shift into Trump taking over the Republican Party. This is something I've been talking about for a long time. And we're also seeing this with the Democratic Party as well. So be prepared to see radicalism amping up on both sides. And this is a sign of a falling political system. Demon rats. So let's see. If you are make over 60, 100K a year, no, they're not. That's fear. That's fear tactics. Yes, it's coming armed. Yeah, learn how to spell. Personality worship is scary. Yeah, it is. No false idols, no icons. And we've, idolized Trump. Not we necessarily, but the American people, a lot of them have idolized Trump as the savior because he said a lot of true things. And this is why people get a lot of attention these days, because they'll say true things nobody else will say, but they're also not addressing major problems or not even doing the things that they say they would do, like Trump. IRS agents are coming after you and everyone. They're not. That's total fear porn. He doesn't belong anywhere near the White House. A is the dumbing down in America. Yeah, well, the dumbing down in America has been taking place for quite some time. It isn't just Donald Trump. Right, this has been going on for a long, long time, but Donald Trump just took the rhetoric to the next level, which I enjoyed his rhetoric. I thought he was a good rhetorician, I believe is how you would call them. I believe he was funny. He was entertaining, charismatic, still is. But when he said that he would put Hillary in prison, he just took the whole political landscape and shifted it to a way that it never was before until now. And so now we have all this persecution taking place right now. Does Mott stand for Ministry of Truth? That's a good one, actually. We should be Ministry of Truth. But no, it's Minds of Tomorrow is what Mott stands for. MOT is Minds of Tomorrow. Trump actually represents real Americans, not the left utopian world order. No, he does not. He does not. Just like the prescription drugs for seniors won't go into effect 8 years from now. I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. The IRS is coming for your money, armed. Believe me, TikToker, they're not. You're just pushing fear to get people afraid. That's all you're doing. We being run by, including Trump. That's mostly true, I'd say. Hate world, or whatever your name is. Let's see. Yeah, I'd say that's mostly true. So that's what's going on with the Republican Party. I thought that was very interesting that, like, what was it, 12 Republicans who voted to impeach Trump, 10 of them are now out of office. So that tells you a lot, right? And so Liz Cheney's one of them. And she has the nerve to say that she is thinking about running for the presidency in 2024, even though she lost re-election. What is she thinking? She's not going to win at all. So that's what's going on there with the Republican Party is changing. thanks to Trump. No, 2000 Wyoming mules video. Yeah, smart man. Well, thank you. Thank you. So let's move on to China is right for helping the Taliban. How's it going? It's going well, man. How are you? I hope you're doing well. So China is right for helping the Taliban. So for those of you that don't know, Joe Biden pulled out of Afghanistan a year ago, and I guess it fell into the Taliban's hands. And now they're trying to restore order in Afghanistan after the United States destroyed and wreaked havoc. And now China's trying to help the Taliban get some stability and solidify their control in Afghanistan. In the United States, like Breitbart publication and other places are pointing the finger at China like, oh, how are you helping out these evil, repressive bigots? Well, hey, buddy, you kind of destroyed the country, and that's the only power source they have. It's the only power source they have, and it's going to be implementing better laws probably than having no government whatsoever, or the United States government, because we know the United States government is pushing global HOMO. They don't even let women have educations. Who cares? The Taliban is doing a great job. I don't know that they're doing a great job, but Stalin scientists use microscopes to modify peasants' behavior to be a fearful servant. And that's what they're trying to do with this whole narrative of the IRS. It's their country. It is their country. Let the Taliban run it. And so China's doing the right thing by saying, hey, guys, we'll tighten up our partnership. China's also playing a long-term game, right? They're not only helping rebuild Afghanistan in the proper way, but they're like, you know what? One day the United States will not be the superpower controlling the world. And it will very much help us if we have all of their enemies, because the United States has a lot of enemies on our side. That's what China's doing. This is also why China and Russia are doing military drills in Russia from like August to September in like the eastern half of Russia. Check your facts before speaking. You'll get better credibility. I don't know what you're talking about. What have I said that isn't factual? The United States is a falling empire. China is working with the Taliban to help the Taliban. And then the Breitbart publication has the nerve to say, oh, well, China just wants to use it for their copper ore. They already admitted it. They admitted it. Well, dude, whatever happened to the United States using Afghanistan for their poppy fields, for their oil? United States did the same thing, and they didn't do anything to help it. They tried to install their own government. The Chinese is actually allowing them to have their own government and help their government and work with their government. So why does the IRS need double the agents? User 865, you obviously don't know anything about the situation. The IRS has been severely short-staffed for years. It's been a crisis in the IRS for a long time. This is why there's massive delays. And then also you have to consider the fact that taxes are becoming increasingly complicated because of people making money in the metaverse with cryptocurrencies, NFTs, people making money the way that I'm making money right now, right? So there's a lot of ways that people are making money now that weren't available in the past. And so it's complicating the tax code. So even with the tax code the way it was before, with people making money the way they were before, it was complicated enough, and they were already way behind, like way behind. So they were in dire need of more staffing. And all 87,000 agents are going to be divided up into multiple divisions in the IRS. I have no issue with income tax. Give to Caesar's what is Caesar's. Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me? Are you there? All right. I'm going to kick you out, and if you want to come back in, can you hear me? Kind of. You're breaking up. All right. He might come back in. Who knows? But yeah, are coming after gig workers and small businesses. No, they're not. So, like, come on. as long as you're doing things by the book, you have nothing to worry about. This is just fear. This is just fear corn. Exactly what it is. Smaller government better usually because bad people and big government is harder to remove. Yeah, kind of true. What's going on, man?
How we doing?
Doing well. Yourself? Yep.
Good. Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, I agree with the IRS piece. They need more manpower. They just need to be able to chase wealthy tax cheats. Part of the reason why rich people get away with cheating on their taxes so much is because they have people, moving money around, and their accountants are as good, if not better, than what the people who are working at the IRS, and so they just need manpower and time and money to go chase them. And it's they already have like a figure. It's like a between $200 and $300 billion that they're going to get back. So it's a good way to lower the deficit, because right now that money is owed to the government already, and so it's a perfect thing to just like throw it back at. I mean, I disagree. I would use it for other stuff, but if that's what you want to say your priorities are, like balancing the budget, and that's what will pass, then that's what will pass.
Yeah. Well, so I want to add, because there's somebody in the comments that keep asking about the guns that they own. Well, you know that the IRS isn't just restricted to the United States, right? So it isn't just restricted to the United States. And there are criminals out there. And so a lot of people could be using, weapons to protect themselves from tax evasion. So this is a reality that we see in the world. And now I would slightly disagree with you. I don't know that they're going to be going after the wealthy. I don't know that that's necessarily good to be targeting the wealthy. And also a lot of the wealthy people are following the tax code. They just, well, the wealthy people, they have the tax lawyers to know how to, legally not pay taxes. Jeff Bezos is a very smart man. He knows how to legally not pay taxes. And here's the thing that I would say to that. Everybody, if you can afford a tax lawyer, a good one, you can learn the tax code as well and pay as minimal taxes as possible. So I'm a business owner, so there's a lot of things that I can write off as a business expense, right? So, and there's also ways as a W-2 worker that you can say that you're exempt from taxes and not pay taxes at all during the year and only pay them at the end of the year. That way you're not any money you don't get a refund, because if you get a refund, that means they took too much money, right? So there's a lot of ways as an average citizen you can mitigate your taxes, and the wealthy are just really good at it. Now, are some of them evading taxes? Of course, but also they're just really good at knowing the system, and so they just play the system the way the system's designed. Because why not?
Yeah, we don't go after people for following the system. You just don't, and that's not what we're talking about. So that's not the purpose of the agents, and no one's coming to like repossess your guns. Now, if you're poor and you owe the government money, and the only thing you've ever purchased is guns, yeah, then maybe I could see them seizing your guns. But otherwise, that's not what the IRS is for. That's just fear mongering. It's people kind of very clearly letting their bias slip out by saying the IRS is coming for your guns.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it could happen, though. I could see it happening. I could see a news piece in a few years about the IRS catching some guy who did his taxes wrong or purposely evaded the taxes. Not even doing the taxes wrong. That's the other thing. People are so fearful about doing your taxes wrong and that they're going to come and get you. The IRS will work with you, right? They're not just going to be like, you're going to jail because you forgot to submit this copy of your crypto taxes. They're going to be, all right, well, we'll work with you. What's going on? What's the deal, right?
Yeah.
So
they gave me a couple of years. I owed I just like $300 or something like that. Like, it wasn't even that much money,
right?
And, to the point to where like, they gave me the envelope. They were like, here, mail in your taxes, whatever. And a couple months passed, and then 2 months passed, and then 2 years passed, and I got a refund, and they just took the money out of the refund. It wasn't a big deal. Yeah.
Well, let me address this really quick. There's responsibly reckless. You totally missed the part that they said that the landscaper, had 2 books. He had 1 book where he kept off records. He did not file his taxes. Multiple vehicles that he purchased with unregistered money earned from the business. That's illegal. That's illegal. He can't do that. He broke the law.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that person is not all there. Responsibly reckless.
Do you know what founded America? Yeah, I'm not for revolutions.
I love it.
I'm not for revolutions. I think revolutions are stupid.
White Protestants founded America.
What was that?
I said white Protestants founded America.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
natives in their land.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that there are multiracial.
It's not a corrupt system. That's what the IRS agents are for.
I think that the.
It says you're defending a corrupt system. I was like.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is a corrupt institution. Nobody's going to say it's not corrupt. The FBI is corrupt. The government's corrupt. These institutions become corrupt over time. I don't think the IRS will be around for a whole lot longer. I don't know that the United States will be in its current form much longer. And by much longer, I mean like it could be like 2-3 generations, right? These systems are corrupted. It's not like they're perfect and they do no wrong. They definitely do wrong. And they're definitely controlled by powers higher than we know. Right? There's people funding them. There's people outside of the IRS. There's people outside of the FBI. There's people outside of governments. The deep state is a legit thing. Like, I don't know why this is this big thing. Everybody knows the deep state's real because it's just the bureaucrats that are in there longer than the politicians. And then you have dark money coming in. So, yes, they are corrupt, but the institution itself is just a tool. It's not good or evil. The IRS is not good or evil.
Right.
The people within the institution make it good or evil.
Yes, exactly. No, that's absolutely correct. So that people, like, I mean, again, it's just like, I wish we could be arguing over, like, substantive policy things, but when people say, like, you know, Trump will rise again soon, or liberal equals you hate Jesus, or why do they need firearms, like, it's just, like, not the case. Like, I want to have debates with people who are in reality, because then we can, like, come to a compromise and move forward. You not come to compromise with someone who thinks the moon is made out of cheese. Like, it's just, like, not... We're not in reality. We're not having actual policy debates.
Yeah, well, you know, I understand why people get that way, though, because there's a lot of corruption and a lot of it's coming to surface right now.
Well, it's because they farm outrage and they watch outrage content and they watch people on the internet and on television who are just constantly getting more insane by the day, and so they themselves are starting to crack. Which is, I think, what you're talking about is, like, there isn't going to be a mass scale, like, civil war or anything like that. But what is going to happen is, like, individual actors are going to snap and continue to do things like what the guy did, where he drove you know, that van to the AT&T tower in Nashville, or the guy who drove the truck bomb thing to the Library of Congress. Like, these people fall down their internet rabbit holes and get radicalized by, you know, rage farming, and they're convinced that, like, you know, brown people are coming to steal their jobs and their votes.
Well, here's the thing. There's an interesting thing about that. So we do know that it is true. Like, this whole immigration theory is not a lie. Like, this is something that the Democrats have been pushing for years, and it's because. And the issue is this: the people who have those concerns have good intentions.
Pushing what?
Well, the whole.
Pushing what? Democrats pushing
the replacement theory. So that's been something that's been pushed for years. Like, this is well known. Anybody who has not been brainwashed by the mainstream media in recent days.
Racist conspiracy.
It is not a conspiracy, actually. It's very well known. The Democrats have been actively pushing this, and so understandably so. And I'll say why. It's understandable why they're pushing it. And here's why they're pushing it: is because the American people aren't having children. The American people are falling in their population rates.
You mean white people?
It can be American people. It can be white people. It doesn't matter. The American population as a whole is losing people because they're not having babies. And so in order to supplement that.
About Mexican American babies or Black American babies, you're talking about white American babies. That's what great replacement is. It's the white replacement theory.
I understand what it is. I understand what it is.
The votes are being diluted by people of color.
Yes, they are. This is literally true. Yeah. This is actually literally true. And it's because the white people who are complaining about this, and we just want to say that, I don't know. I don't like the term white or black because nobody's actually white. Nobody's actually black. I mean, black people are all over the world. They're in Africa. They're in Jamaica. But anyway, I think that's all psyop to divide people even more. But anyway, if we just want to call them white people, if you're so worried about great placement theory, have fucking kids. Have a bunch of kids. Take back your nation by having kids. That's simple. Like, the solution's so simple. So if you're worried about
it's
people
just
coming over here,
white nationalism, you're just encouraging people to raise like more hateful kids who.
No, I'm not. That's a very ignorant. So we were having a very intelligent conversation, and that was a very ignorant thing you said, because by telling white people, if you're fearful of other races overpopulating you, have more kids. That's not promoting any kind of racism. That's just saying, yo, if you're worried about your race dying out, which guess what?
They're going to teach their kids.
Good. They should teach. They should teach their children their culture, their heritage. They should, just like Mexicans should teach their Mexican children their heritage and culture and language. Just like Jamaicans should be able to teach their children their heritage and culture and language. So if whites in America, Europeans in America are worried about this, have more children. Teach them your heritage. Teach them your culture. Teach them where you come from. Why you should be prideful in your heritage. Why you should be prideful in your ancestry. You should have pride in your ancestry. Everybody should. Blacks, whites, yellows, purple people, brown people. Everybody should have pride in your ancestry.
I suppose. I just don't think it's operated. It operates that way. I think there's some. I think it's some like willful denial of what like white nationalism or American nationalism.
Who cares about white nationalism? Because
those beliefs and how they actually operate.
No, dude, they operate the way they should.
Part of what's tearing our country apart.
No, what's tearing our country apart is multiculturalism and diversity. Because we have no cohesion. There is no America.
That's what I mean. Is like you want to say like America has always been a melting pot, and that's
it has not
of the country.
I don't believe that it has.
A white country.
I don't.
It doesn't have to be a white country. It could be whatever it wants to be.
I don't think that America.
Be a white country for much longer.
I don't think that America's always been a melting pot.
Maybe 20 years.
Yeah, and it's going to crumble. I think there's going to be a legitimate civil war. I think there will be a legitimate civil war. I think that there will be a balkanization of the United States. And I think that there's nothing wrong with white nationalism. I think there's nothing wrong with black nationalism. I think there's nothing wrong with Chinese nationalism. I think there's nothing wrong with Mexican or Latino or Spanish nationalism. I have nothing wrong with those things. That's good to be prideful in your nation. It's good to be prideful in your culture and your heritage.
Not to the point of ignorance or denial of basic, obvious things that are wrong.
Well,
people take it to an extreme.
They can, yeah, but they can also take what you're taking to the extreme, and they're doing it right now by saying there is no American culture. Therefore, America doesn't exist. It's magic dirt. This is the only country in the world where you can go to, learn the language, get a passport, and now you're an American citizen, but you can't do that in China. You can't become Chinese. You can't become Japanese. You can't become Norwegian.
It's almost like it's a multicultural society.
Yeah, which is a fallacy. It's a fallacy. It's a fiction. It's not, every time that it's existed, it falls. Yes, it does. It will fall. Guarantee it. The main cause of civil war.
Weak and tied to their judgments and bigotry.
You can call it that, but I think it's good to
handle it.
I think the Chinese people get it.
Not being able to cohabitate with other people.
No, I think that the Chinese people really understand how the world works the best right now, and also the Muslims. The Chinese and the Muslims really get it. I'm big fans.
You mean some Muslims? Who are the Muslims?
Yeah, the Middle Easterners.
You're talking about
those who enforce Sharia law, the Taliban. They get it.
40 countries.
Yeah, they get it. China definitely gets it.
So you're a fascist?
No, I'm not a fascist.
That's it. So this is what I mean. Is like you're way more like right wing than you want to admit that Unitarianism.
No, I have no issue with authoritarian. I have no issue being right wing. I am right wing. I'm far right wing. I consider myself to be a Christian nationalist. I'd go as far as saying I want a monarchy. I would rather see a monarchy than a democracy.
Wow. Yeah. So that's what I mean.
But it's not fascism. That's very stupid of you to say fascism.
That's not what our country's here. It's free.
Yes, fact, it's not fascism. You don't even know what fascism is. You don't even know what fascism is. Because I'm not fascist. You definitely don't know what the word means.
Right, ultra nationalist, authoritarian. Yeah,
it could be totalitarian.
I mean, I'm sorry that you're.
It could be totalitarian.
You want to be Christian nationalist, like that's screwed up. You're going to force a religion on people or values on people. It's like cowardice. It's because you're afraid your ideas don't work in the marketplace of ideas, so you have to force it on people. That's fascism.
No, it's not. I'm not afraid of my ideas not working in the marketplace.
And you have your false idol, God King above.
Well, he's not false, and he's not an idol. He's the creator of all.
He's not Jesus. That's what a false idol is. I mean, people who would put his face on it or like hug a statue of him.
Well, now you're assuming
of him and Jesus.
Well, now you're assuming what I believe. I believe that the Father in heaven is the creator of all. I believe Jesus Christ is his son.
Sure, and you have the right.
I pray to the Father.
Has a right to follow whatever they want, and so is why Christian nationalism is a disease.
No, it's not.
Not everyone needs to be a Christian.
No, it's not. It purges the diseases of the world.
It's forcing
it purges
fairy tale onto people and making
it doesn't
people
force
live
it actually.
To a fiction book.
That's a fallacy. It doesn't force it.
That's what Christian nationalism is.
Well, no, it doesn't force it on anybody because conversion by force doesn't work. So why would you want a nation of people that have just forcefully converted? Then they're not real converts. You don't want that.
Yeah, so what are you going to do with all the people who don't convert?
Yeah, so there's a lot of people. So like Christians. So for example,
leaves the church every year.
So for example, there's a lot of people that go, like there's a lot of Christians that will go to Muslim countries, and they don't have to disassociate their affiliation to Christianity. They just can't publicly worship their God. That's fine. Respect their religion. Respect their culture. If you can't openly say that, hey, I believe Jesus Christ is God, and He came to save you. He's saving the world, and He's showing us the way to reconnect with God. You can't go and preach that to Muslim countries. That's fine. Respect it. Respect it. That's all. But you can have your belief. You can have your belief.
Believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can do that in Muslim countries that are very church and state oriented.
Sure.
So you can do the same thing in Christian nationalism. You're totally misunderstanding it. So if you want to be a Muslim in a Christian nationalist state,
with the Taliban just kind of proves that like the American right is just like a Christian Taliban.
But no, they're not. Not right now. I wish they would be. I mean, I wish that the Christian right would become more like Taliban. I wish the Christian right was more like the Muslim Taliban. I do, but they're not. They're just not. They're too weak. They support the Pride movement.
Then you take exception to being called like a fascist or an authoritarian.
Well, I don't have no issue being called an authoritarian. I think fascism is something totally different.
It's not. It's part of it. It's literally a form of authoritarianism.
It's a form of it, but it's not It's not all authoritarians. So you can say all fascisms. You can say all fascists are authoritarian, but not all authoritarians are fascist. That's a logical fallacy you're committing.
Sure. No, it's not. You don't just say everything's a logical fallacy.
I'm not saying everything's a logical fallacy. I'm telling you your logic in this case is incorrect. That not all authoritarians are fascist. But you could say all fascists are authoritarian.
Yeah, I did. I agree.
All right. So there we go. Anything else that you want to talk about on here? We got somebody else that wants in.
I mean, just like, I feel like you have to admit it at some point, like where your beliefs lie are at the far right of the country or middle right. I mean, it kind of like it says more about the state of the country for that reason. And so, I don't know, it's just like intellectually dishonest to try and engage in good faith when like what you want is like Christofascism or like feeling like you're a nationalist. Like it's not bad to be proud of America, but it's also
bad to
be like
you can call it
or to think that there's one religion is the right religion is pretty naive.
Yeah, I think it's pretty naive.
And against freedom of speech.
I don't believe in freedom of speech. And I don't think it's naive to...
It doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. It's in the Constitution.
It doesn't matter that it's in the Constitution because our founders didn't even believe in it.
Speech.
Our founders didn't even believe in it. It was a lie that they wrote in there.
I just think that's ignorant.
It's not. I mean, the second president of the United States wrote the Sedition Act. He said that if you speak out against the government, you're committing treason.
And
that's against freedom of speech. Literally. By definition.
Yeah.
Our founders were not for freedom of speech. It's a fairy tale.
Yep. And who was prosecuted for that? When was the last time somebody got picked up on this today?
Well, I mean, it was way back during the war times in the 1800s or 1700s, 1800s.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there's people every day. Julian Assange. Why is he being persecuted by the United States? Freedom of speech. Edward Snowden. Freedom of speech.
It has to do with government documents.
What's freedom of speech? Dude, think about the literal definition of freedom of speech. It doesn't exist. Freedom of speech means that you can say whatever you want with no boundaries. No boundaries whatsoever. No consequences. You are free to speak your mind. You are free.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you can't because you get punished.
You can say whatever you want. Say it.
And then you get punished. And then you can go to jail. By what are you talking? I just gave you 2 examples.
By who?
I just gave you 2 examples. Edward Snowden, Julian Assange.
What were 2 examples?
Julian Assange, Edward Snowden. They practice their freedom of speech. They practice their freedom of speech.
It's not freedom of speech when you're talking about things that you don't have access to, or government documents that you don't have. I mean, that's why the FBI came to Mar-a-Lago. You are not supposed to have these documents. You don't have access to this. You have no right to this. It's not freedom of speech.
Yes, right here. Julian Assange had info, which is part of freedom of speech. This guy's an idiot. I agree. I mean, this is very simple. I'm not going to call you an idiot. I'm just going to say that you're programmed.
Simple. No, I am calling you an idiot because if you don't have documents, if you don't have permission to release those documents, and you release the documents, there's going to be a consequence for it. And so, yeah, they're going after him. But it's not freedom of speech. It's not just an idea that he came up with in his head. He has.
Nobody's defending Trump. Nobody's defending Trump. I'm defending Julian Assange for coming out and speaking out against that.
About Julian Assange,
yeah, and he spoke. He spoke out against corruption. He spoke truth to power. He spoke truth to power. All right, man. It's been good talking to you. I got somebody else that wants to come in here, so I'm going to let him in here. Hey, what's going on? How's it going?
I can obviously hear you just fine, but can you hear me clearly? I'm not sure from your end.
Yeah, I can hear you.
The reason I ask is because the part of my state where I live in Massachusetts, it's kind of spotty.
Gotcha.
So I want to make something very, very clear because you put up, Julian Assange and.
Well, let's stay on topic. Well, come on. We have. I don't want to keep deviating off topic.
No,
I have. Well, hang on. I have specific show topics. Let's stay on the specific show topics.
Okay, fine. Which would you like to start with?
You're on here, so you're obviously the one that wanted to come on.
Well,
so
I definitely agree with the fact that the Republican Party is changing things to Trump, but that's a double-edged sword because of the fact that up till now, ever since the changing of the Republican Party over the past 150 years, a lot of the gravitation has been towards radicalism. And conveniently enough, the leadership has always tried to deny it by saying, we're not like those people. The people you're talking about don't exist. We're not catering to the radicals of our culture, and they don't really exist in our party because we're all the good guys. But yet, every 2 years, they use exacerbated language, emotional appeals to drag these people to the polls, but then we're ignoring them. So yes, in a technical sense, the leadership of the Republican Party has always kind of mobilized the radicals, but never really listened to the radicals. And they were really, really good at it. But then when Trump came along, no one took him seriously because they said, oh yeah, Trump, right. No one will listen to him. But the 35 to 40% of the Republican Party that are now diehard Trumpers did listen to him because for the very fact that the Republican leadership always trotted them out every 2 years, but always tried to ignore them the rest of the time. And he was able to mobilize them against the Republican base. And the Republicans were like, oh my God, he's got 40% of the party now. Well, no, he never had the 40% of the party. He just happened to get these 40% he'd been ignoring for like 80 years and said, hey, I'll be on your side. And now they became diehard devoted to him because he's actually listening to them. He's like them. And what was the most common phrase when asked, why do you support Donald Trump? Oh, because he says the things I wish I could say.
Yeah.
And the whole point of that is some of the things that they want to say, they shouldn't be saying because it's insane.
Wow. So we agree. We agree on no freedom of speech. That's awesome. Good.
No, freedom of speech is not absolute. Every freedom comes with responsibilities. Freedoms are great. Freedoms are wonderful. Everyone should embrace their freedoms. But with freedom also comes responsibility. If you accept a freedom, you accept the complementary responsibility that goes along with it. I have the right to say whatever the hell I want, but I do not have the right to lie about someone or print lies about them to destroy their character.
Why?
That's why we have laws called libel and slander.
Why though?
You can't so freedom of speech is a great thing, but there are limits, which is exactly
then it's not freedom of
libel
speech.
Exists.
Then it's
slander exists. Sedition exists. These laws are put into place to curb those types of actions that are employed by quote unquote freedom of speech that can cause harm. If you want to fight corruption, if you want to do that, that's great. I applaud you for that. But when you want to start releasing documents that can hurt people, that's where it ends. That's where if you're going to get people killed, that's where it ends.
Dude.
If you want to fight, if you want to go into a public theater and scream fire because you think it's funny, you are not protected by freedom of speech.
So we agree that we don't agree, and we believe that freedom of speech doesn't exist.
It's not absolute, no.
Yeah, so therefore, no freedom of speech. It's limited speech.
No, you're being exaggerated. You're exaggerating. Freedom
No,
of speech
I'm not.
does not mean absolute freedom of speech.
What does freedom mean?
Freedom means you have freedom.
So if you get in trouble if I have freedom, I can do anything I want.
No, that's not what freedom means. I just told you.
What does freedom mean?
Freedom you enjoy comes with a requisite responsibility. You do not have absolute freedom. Your freedom to swing your hand ends where my nose begins.
So right here, freedom, the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint.
Okay, fine. You want to take that approach? Fine. Do you have the freedom to punch me in the nose?
I do, but I will be persecuted for that.
That's exactly my point. You do not have the freedom to punch me in the nose unless, of course, you have what's called self-defense.
Yeah, so you're limiting your freedoms. So you're limiting your freedoms.
Yes, because freedom is not absolute.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That I don't think that freedom of speech exists at all. I think that there's limited speech everywhere.
You're taking it to its ridiculous extreme.
I'm not.
There is no such thing as absolute freedom. No.
Then so therefore there's limited things that you can do.
It's still freedom.
Freedom within the rules.
Yes, because that's why we have this thing in the English language called adjectives.
Yeah.
Freedom is the freedom to act, but responsibility is the requirement to face the consequences for it. Your freedom to punch me in the nose exists, but you're gonna face the consequences for it. It doesn't change the fact that you have freedom, because no one's stopping you from doing it. But if you were to come up in some random dude in the sidewalk and punch me in the nose, you'd better be willing to accept the fact that I'm gonna beat you down for it.
Oh, Mike Dave.
Why did this man beat me up? Because he punched me in the nose, so I'm going to beat the hell out of him.
Dude, yeah, so you're restricting freedoms. Like,
that's
what you're doing.
What I'm saying is if you're going to use freedom, you have to face the consequences for it.
Yeah, so that means it's not really freedom because it doesn't come without consequence.
Are you not listening? I just said, if you walked up to me, some random dude in the middle of the street, and just walloped and punched me in the nose,
he will lose.
I let you walk away and let you do it?
Those actions will lose your freedom, though.
You're not listening.
I am, but those actions. No, literally.
We're not talking cops or consequences or having you arrested. If you walk up in our free society and punch me in the nose just out of the blue for no good reason, I'm not seeing you going to do it. You sucker punch me as I turn around. Do you think I should just let you walk away with having done it? Oh, but I have the freedom to swing my arm. Yeah, you do. But when it hits my nose, you're going to face the consequences for it.
Yeah, you have the freedom to defend yourself.
Exactly my point.
Yeah,
So
but my point is, my point is that you have to start restricting freedoms. That way you can have a cohesive society in nonviolence.
No. It's not restricting freedom.
You go to jail if you punch somebody in the face. You literally lose your freedoms if you punch somebody in the face.
Oh my God. No.
Don't you?
You're still not getting it. You're still not getting it.
Dude, your logic is like this. Hang on. This is your logic. This is your logic. I have the freedom to break into somebody's home.
Yeah, basically.
And then I'm going to lose my freedoms from that action. That means we're restricting your freedom.
Consequence.
Yes, exactly. So there's restrictions.
You have freedom of choice.
There's restrictions. We try to reduce the freedom of choices.
Your freedom is the freedom of your choice to choose an action. If you know the consequence of the action and you choose it anyway, you're still exhibiting your freedom.
So that's why we restrict freedoms, to prevent those kind of acts. I don't want people to break into my house. So we have a law stating if you break into my house, you lose your freedom.
Right, because you're choosing the consequence.
Yes, so you don't have the freedom to do that. You're going to be hindered.
No.
You're going to be restrained.
You're mistaking what freedom and consequence are. You have the freedom to do it because we have a free society. We don't have people walking down the street in jackboots guarding every house.
Maybe we should.
Free society for a reason.
Maybe
We're
we
not
should.
watching you every second of every single day, every single moment, every single.
Arguably they are.
Your time.
Arguably they are with Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Arguably they are watching us all the time with our smartphones,
No,
TikTok,
they
Facebook.
don't give a damn about most of us.
That's silly because they use our data. They use our data. Have you not looked at your ads lately and been like, wow, that's really coincidental that they're showing me this ad after I just talked about this thing, or wow, I just looked this up and
that's a private company.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying, dude. They are watching you. Anyway, let's talk about another topic that's on here.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. China is right for helping the Taliban. Nah, don't care. China and Russia military. I don't get it. China and Russia military drills in Russia. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about China and Russia are doing military drills in Russia.
Yeah, but why does that matter?
Well, because they're partnering up. Military alliances, they're strengthening their partnership.
Oh my God. You clearly have no history of the Russo-Sino War.
I do, and we've long passed that, man. We've long passed that. China and Russia.
Yeah, Russia and China are not teaming up. No.
They definitely are. Have you not heard of BRICS? Have you not heard of BRICS?
Oh God. There is
Do you know Brazil, Russia, India, China, Iran, Argentina, Saudi Arabia? All these countries are in partnership.
Yeah, so is the UN. What's your point?
Yeah, so my point is that Russia and China are way past the Sino War. You obviously are not up to date.
Do you know anything about Russian culture, seriously?
Do you know anything about Chinese culture, seriously?
Yeah, I visited China, but I lived in Russia.
Cool.
The Russians have no love for the Chinese. They hate the Chinese. That doesn't mean that they're not going to work cooperatively since they share a border.
That's what I'm saying.
2,000 miles long.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they have to love each other, but they can work in partnerships and not love each other. Businesses work in unison all the time. Countries work in unison all the time.
Together.
I'm sorry?
They would never work politically
They are.
together.
Are you silly? Are you silly?
Are in direct conflict.
No, dude, they both want internationalism. They don't want globalism. They're working to fight the global elite, and they want internationalism. They'd rather have the countries to be their own sovereign thing. Yeah, they do.
The Russian government habitually loves to be the one who's in charge of their territory.
Yeah.
It's not against globalism. Globalism is a myth by saying, oh, the global elite.
Dude, it's a myth.
You realize that we're all
It's a myth.
Global society, you realize
it's
this,
a myth.
right?
Yes, I do. Exactly. Globalism has been working.
And why is being a global society a bad thing?
Because it does away with
What harm does
nations.
it do to you?
It does away with nations. That's the whole thing. They want to
And
open
why would that be a
borders.
problem exactly?
Because then you have no sovereignty. You have no identity.
Why wouldn't you?
Because you have no nation. You have no tribe. You're all just this one
the
kumbaya.
The nations wouldn't stop existing.
They
would
would.
simply come to a creedal agreement on whatever our core principles are.
Yeah, that's silly because they don't have core principles. China and America are way different.
We have to get to that point. We're nowhere near that point yet. We're nowhere near a global
You live in
society.
fantasy land. You live in fantasy land because you just said that Russia and China don't like each other, but somehow they're going to get to a point where they're going to like each other and say, let's forget our borders. China and Russia, we're all just one happy family.
That's not what globalism is.
It is. Literally.
No, it isn't.
Literally, it is the dissolution of nation states. Literally.
That will never happen. That won't happen.
Yeah, I agree with you, which is why I don't believe in globalism.
No, what I'm saying is it will never happen and nations will vanish. That's not what would happen.
I agree with you.
So what I'm saying is globalism is this big spooky boogeyman. Globalism, the way that you're describing it, would never happen.
But they're trying it right now. This is what the East is fighting the West on. This is why China is helping the Taliban, because the Taliban said, hey, U.S., get your global HOMO out of here. We don't want your BS agenda trying to change our children. We don't want that. Get out of here, U.S. All you want is our poppy fields and our oil and to try to, I can't even say the word, but make everybody, quote unquote, prideful. So get out of here, U.S. That's what globalism is.
Referring to what?
Referring to what? What are you talking about?
You said they don't want everyone to be making people prideful. What do you mean, making people prideful?
Yeah, you know that whole month in June that we celebrate those people?
For Pete's sake.
It's
brother.
a fact.
I mean, are you really worried about that? I mean, seriously?
It's literally happening. You're blind if you don't see it.
You realize that the population of the globe, if we assume it's fairly unilateral across all cultures, whether they admit to it or not, the human race is roughly speaking about 12 to 15% homosexual. And okay, fine, whatever. How does that impact on the other 85% of us?
Yeah, well, they are a large percentage of the people who do things to children. Fact.
Oh no, they are not.
Fact. It is a fact.
The people who are committing, child abuse are straight white men in our country.
All right, we're out of here, bro. Peace. I can't talk to that guy anymore. It gets too hard talking to extremely programmed people for too long. Like the one guy who, this is where I agree with a lot of lefties, right? Like a lot of the lefties, I can have a really good conversation defending parts of the government because we agree on that. I don't want to see the dissolution of the government. I'd rather have government than no government. And if having a government means having the IRS, FBI, ATF over not having one, I'm all for it, guys. So therefore, me and a lot of lefties will get along. But when I start hearing stuff like that, like, are you not living in 2022? Do you not see what's going on? Do you not see the reality of the world? Obviously not. Klaus Schwab's Gray Set Globalist. Yeah, I mean, look at this. Now I have user 865. He was criticizing me earlier for my favoring of the IRS and the FBI, but now he gets it. He's somebody who gets it. This is why I do these streams, because I'm not just like a monolith with, favoring one side. I think that there's a bigger picture here and that a lot of people aren't getting the bigger picture. And I'm not saying that I know everything, but a lot of people aren't getting bigger picture opinions, all-encompassing opinions from other media sites. They're not. They're getting fed right-wing propaganda, truth of propaganda. I would even go as far as to say Christian propaganda, right? Because there's a lot of misuse in Christianity, making people fearful of the end times, the mark of the beast, etc., right? And then you obviously have the left-wingers. This guy came on the show and he was talking about, oh, yeah, the Republican Party is totally radical and Trump just radicalized them even more. But he did not once talk about the left wing radicalizing people either. I mean, there's actual evidence that the left wingers have been going out and committing more acts of violence than right wingers right now. Fact. But I'm also the guy that's saying that it's going to get a lot worse once you get the right wingers, who are very, very bad, very, very extreme, doing things. I think they're going to be a lot worse than the lefties because they have high T. or at least average T. So it's going to be a big issue. Great Reset. You will be happy with nothing. Yeah, well, here's another fallacy about the Great Reset. The system is splitting us. We need a clear common enemy that isn't each other. I don't think, the enemy is the devil. It's Satan. It's evil. Operation Cyclone, Reagan gave infant Taliban and Tehran around to get 8. Yeah, for sure. But right here. So, guys, and this is a whole nother myth. Like, it's not a myth. It's just the truth being inverted. You will own nothing and be happy. So what they're talking about is putting you in a smart city, taking away everything that you have, and you rent everything, you're sharing cars, and you'll be happy. Well, they are true. You do own nothing, and you should be happy about owning nothing because this earth, you can't take it with you when you're gone. You can't take any of the property with you when you're gone. You really don't own it because your spirit goes on. It is eternal. You are eternal, I believe. And so your body is not, though. Therefore, things in the material are ephemeral. They're temporal. They do not live. They do not go on forever. So you cannot own these things. You're borrowing these things while you're here. So there's a lot of people with the less they own or they own nothing, like Jesus, for example. Jesus says the Son of Man has nowhere to rest his head. He owned nothing. And he was probably the happiest man that walked this earth. So there's truth in what they're saying. They're just inverting it and telling you go into smart cities. Don't do that. So let's see here. China, okay. USA and Russia fought together in World War II. They did. Keep thinking we are not arming. I don't know what you're talking about. But all right. So that's pretty much all that I had for today. Let's see. Well, we didn't touch on a couple things. So let me just touch on them really quickly. And I think I've been alluding to this point during like most of the conversation regarding the IRS and stuff like that. Build, don't destroy. Liberals have guns too. Yeah, they do. Fact. So, come on. Let's stop that. The South is ready for let's stop it. User 865. Stop it. It's insane talk that you're doing right now. Literally. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that whatsoever. Especially if you have a wife and kids, man. What about the quote-unquote libtards that also have wife and kids? They're human beings as well. Anyway, build, don't destroy. I think that's the biggest thing that people should be doing today is finding ways to build, provide, useful services to their community, for their family. Biden has said he's coming for all guns. Dude, are you really listening to Biden? He can't even remember what he ate 2 seconds ago. He can't remember what he said this morning. The dude doesn't even know. He shakes ghost hands, all right? The guy is clueless half the time, and you're worried about him. I'm a Marine and left wing. Well, you're a rarity. You're an anomaly. Anyway, so I think it's so much more important to focus on building something beautiful for your family, for you, for your community, than it is focusing on destroying what is evil, because the evil thing will destroy itself over time. Fact. I had the video of him saying about guns. Who cares, user 865? He probably doesn't even remember it. He probably doesn't even know what a gun is at this point. No, I am a keeper of my oath. But that doesn't mean that you're not an anomaly. I know a ton of vets, and I know, statistically speaking, most veterans are right-wing. It's like overwhelmingly right-wing. And they think they're keeping their oath as well. So who's really keeping their oath? So, yeah, but all right, that's going to be enough for me today. So liars are the common now. You believe they're liars. They don't believe they're liars. I tend to think that the right has more truth than the left. I've already expressed the truth that I think that the left has, and that is the government isn't bad. But the right definitely, generally speaking, has more truth. Yes. I think that's objective at this point. Conservative veterans outnumber leftist Marxist. Well, just because you're a leftist doesn't make you a Marxist. Come on, let's use some brain power here. All Marxists are leftists, but not all leftists are Marxists. This is basic logic, guys. It's very fascinating. Just anyway, I won't get into that too much. But anyway, so that's it for me today, guys. Subscribe, MOT Media on YouTube, everywhere for podcast. And yeah, we'll see you later, probably tomorrow. Much love. Peace.